Hello, my name's Duncan and welcome to Bath Books and happy Vlogmas to you all. This is Backways and a Donkey and we're on day 12 of Vlogmas. And to tell you the truth, I'm struggling for subjects because I've not been out much in the past few days, so I've not really been able to do any proper sort of vlogging. I do need to tidy up those bookshelves behind me, so you may see that in the next day or so. I've got some readings to do, but I want to leave those for a bit later, a bit further on, a bit nearer the sort of actual Christmas things. So I was struggling things to do. Then I thought of, what is Christmas as a child? What did it mean to me? And it meant annuals. And some of you, I'm not sure if they had them in America or elsewhere in the world, but here in the UK, Christmas as a child meant annuals. And they put anything in an annual. An annual is like a book, hardback book. I'll show you this one properly later, which may have stories, something to do with a subject. It can be a subject, it can be comics, it can be TV programs. It has been in the past, and nowadays it can mean anything, and they still do them. I said when I was a child of the 70s and 80s, that's what Christmas meant. You've got annuals. And I was going to show you a few of mine. Brief history that I know. I'm not well up on this, and it probably deserves a full video by itself, which I may do one day. But as far as I understand, annuals came from in the sort of Victorian period, where they used to have periodicals that they used to bind together in a book form. And they used to do this for like children's literature as well. And that's where the annuals came from. The big sort of exposure in the UK for them was in the 1950s. When you had things like comics like Bunty, the Eagle, and even Rupert the Bear. There's who is it who collects Rupert the Bear books? One of the science fiction channels. Oh, Science Fiction Reads. I'll find his Rupert the Bear book video that he did. Yes, because he collects them, and he did one on some of these, and it was really quite interesting. But they used to produce annuals, yearly annuals of them, and especially around about Christmas. Christmas time they used to walk them out. And for me, as a science fiction fan and obviously post Star Wars, I saw the original Star Wars when it came out, so I've said many times, and I'm a huge fan. TV stuff, a lot of TV programs ended up with annuals, as did films. Even Match of the Day, which is a program about football. Soccer to you Americans out there, still do annuals, and comics like Beano, which are children's comics, and Dandy, and they still produce them. I think you still see them flying around. But anyway, I thought I'd quickly show you some of mine. I'm going to start off with two here that a friend of mine gave me last Christmas, that he obviously picked up for me because he knows my love of these things. And one of them is for the TV programme of Buck Rogers in the 25th Century, which is as camp can be. First series is excellent. The second one is just weird because even though the first one was a success, they decided to destroy the formula. It's very complicated. If you've not seen it, it's great 80s glittery stuff. Buck Rogers is a character I really like. I've got a bunch of Buck Rogers books back there, which I'm going to one day do a video on, and one day finish reading them all as well. I could read some of them and read what you own, couldn't I? But yeah, and the TV programme started Gil Gerard, who, if you look him up now, is turning a bit of a right-wing nut, but ignore that. And this is the annual from 1981 of that, with some really dodgy art on the front. I said my friend sent me this last Christmas. And inside, we have bit of artwork in there. Hopefully you can see all this well enough. And then we go into a comic version of a Buck Rogers story. What's quite interesting is these are with the original character of Buck Rogers, not the one from the TV series. What is quite fascinating is that I can't find any listing of the artists or who wrote the stories, whether they were... But as you can see, those are like original stories. I don't know whether they're from the original comic strips that appeared in the paper. I need to do some research on this. This is a really off-the-cuff video because otherwise I would have done a bit more research. But yes, I'm just wondering if these are colorized from the comic strips that appeared in the newspapers at some point. Then they've got a short history of Buck Rogers there. And then in the back, weirdly, the backstory is one with the modern, well, the 1980s Buck Rogers, which is there. And this one, we actually got a writer on it, somebody called Paul Newman, and art by A.M. Williams. It's interesting that we haven't got that in the original one, the older story at the beginning, which is making me think it is from very old ones. And you got Twicky. He's not the best art in the world. It really isn't. If you remember that, if you ever see it, they took a little robot there. They used to go biddly, biddly, biddly all the time. He used to have a AI computery thing on his chest. And some more in there. And that's basically all this one annual is. It's just these 2 cartoon strips and a little bit of history on Buck Rogers. And in the middle, we have a little board game. Maybe we should all play this one day live on Zoom or something. The Buck Rogers board game. Which could be fun. So yeah, that's the first one, the Buck Rogers one. First one? Yeah, first one, the Buck Rogers one. I'm just going to check something, because I have this paranoia I've not turned my camera on. Okay, so I'll fade me. If I have put it on, I will just do a little fade here. Yes, so that was the Buck Rogers annual. That was from 1981, that was. And the programme said ran in the UK 80-81. So it did 2 seasons. I said the first season was actually pretty good. It had its moments, it had moments, but I enjoyed it, and I still enjoy it. The second season got a bit weird, but then there's bits of it that's like an actor called Tom Christopher played this hawk man, this man who was meant to be like descended from hawks, who had this like feathers instead of hair, but he had this incredible spaceship that looked like a hawk that had these claws that came out the bottom and used to grab a shit below it. It was quite bizarre, but it was a really interesting design. The next one I had that my friend sent me last year is Battle of the Planets. And Battle of the Planets was an animated series, ran the back end of the 70s probably, similar to the Space Sentinels. If you don't know the Space Sentinels is good. And it was originally from a Japanese cartoon, which I cannot remember its name. And what they did to westernise it is obviously dubbed it over, but they also inserted a thing with this robot called Seven's Arc 7 to sort of piece the story together. And it was about these kids. I think there was 4 or 5 of them, and when they said these magic words, they turned into basically like these space superheroes. And this is, as you said, this is the authorised edition as seen on BBC TV this annual. And when their spaceship that they used got into a special thing, it turned into like this phoenix on the back there. And this is another one which is just basically cartoon adaptation of a story. And we have not the best art in the world. Does this one? I think this one doesn't tell you who the art's by either, if I remember. All rights reserved for syndication. And then we have that man there is Zoltar. Was it Zoltan? Zoltan, sorry. No, Zoltar. Zoltan was the Hound of Dracula, wasn't he? And he was the sort of evil person that they always fought. And then you had, they used to whirl and do these weird things. I've got most of them on DVD or some format somewhere. My favourite one was the Space Sentinels though, which it's very difficult to find on DVD. This one also has a game in it. You're trying to defeat Zoltar. I said we do some of these games. Maybe I should play a version on a video. Maybe I should get me and Mrs. Bath to play it. And then we've got some more of the art. The art, I said, isn't the best in the world. I think that is... But yes, sometimes annuals were a little bit better than that. I've got here a collection of Star Wars annuals. I probably had them when they came out, but when I moved around, I'd lost some of them. So these are ones that I've re-got over a few years. I'm missing quite a few. But I only had one as a child of the Star Wars ones, and that was this one. And this was on release when the film came out, so 1970, Christmas of 77, 78. And this has got the original Marvel. Was it £1.50 if you wanted to know? This has got the original Marvel adaptation of the film. But it's also got some bits about the film. But what's interesting is the Marvel adaptation is being coloured. It's been coloured not particularly well in places, but it has been coloured. Because the actual adaptation in the original Star Wars comics, and I have one of them here on my collection. Actually, this one isn't an adaptation one. The actual comic was all black and white in the middle. Yes. So having this coloured was quite an achievement. And then the back of this one, we've got some like profiles on Harrison Ford and some general background of the film. Obviously it was aimed at a 12, 13-year-old. But yes, that's from the original one. But what's quite weird here, I find, is you've got all these bits that have been coloured. And then the final scene, sorry, spoiler for the film, Star Wars, if you've never seen it, when they blow up the Death Star at the end, that's in black and white. That makes no sense at all. That makes no sense. And then I've also got another Star Wars one, which was this. It's just got, that is a cover of one of the comics of one of the stories that went on. If you find the Marvel Star Wars comics, they started covering the film and then they went off on one and did their own original stories. And literally it was like the Wild West, because they basically did what they liked. It wasn't like the way Disney have screwed down all the rights of it and what you can do with the stories. It wasn't like that. They did what they wanted. And there's some really, really bizarre stories. All they had to do was make sure that when they did the next film, that the characters hadn't really changed. So they managed to get ways of Luke fighting Darth Vader and things. It was really quite bizarre. But this one is been badly monochrome coloured. I've actually got the originals of these in their comic form, which are black and white. But I don't know what went on with the colour there. But then we have this. This picture is great in colour, the one of the Millennium Falcon there. I've seen copies of that in colour. Profile on Anthony Daniels. So you're still getting stuff in here. And then we go back to the other stories. And we've got a bit ready for The Empire Strikes Back, when The Empire Strikes Back comes out, with some of the Ralph McQuarrie art. Things like that. And then we go back to the really badly coloured story, which is there. Hopefully you can see that. What year was this released? Which will tell me here. This was 79. This was released, and now one was 77. And I've got two more, but those are for the Return of the Jedi. I haven't got the Empire Strikes Back ones for some reason, which I will sort out at some point. So this was the first one that was released after the film came out in 83. That's right, in 83. Yeah. And so this has, yet again, the adaptation of the comic adaptation of the film, yet again in colour, and yet again coloured very badly. if I show you the original comic is coloured. This is... Actually, the original comic isn't coloured particularly well either. So there's that scene there. I'll find the same scene here. Actually, I've done a better job in the annual. See that page there? And actually, in the annual here, that page there looks pretty good. The colour on it. But yeah, this one, that's all it is. All it is the Marvel adaptation of the film, which in the comic went on for 6 issues. I remember rightly. Let's check. I've got them all over there, the original comics, as I said. And then we got a second annual from Return of the Jedi. And this is when the stories went really, really random. Okay? Really, really random. Yet again, it's just comic stories. But here you have C-3PO being attacked by some bunny things. I'll show you the front cover. Did I show you the front cover? And you've got... Have they got any more bizarre ones in there? Have they got Jackson in this one? The actual colour in this is done a lot better than in that Star Wars one. Like, the colour on that one is pretty well done. But then they coloured them in the original, in the comics. We have a sexy sort of Metropolis type robot there. I really like this panel here. That panel there I really quite like. So yeah, that's a collection of some of the annuals I own, which I thought was quite a good sort of Christmassy thing to do about. Yeah, so that is Vlogmas Day 12. I hope you've enjoyed that, a little bit of side. I'm not sure what I'm doing for the rest of the week or anything else, but I will speak to you all very soon and have a lovely evening. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.